Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of our Advanced Insight webinar series. My name is Shauna, and I will be the host for today's webinar. Today, we're going to be covering the expansion of our IP-A1 series of IP-enabled solutions. And as mentioned in this name, this series does have IP capabilities, and it offers convenience and flexibility in this ever-increasing technological age that we continue to advance into. So just throughout this webinar, we'll be reviewing product functionality, features, benefits, and applications. We'll also help you identify when each model serves as the best solution, negate any preconceived limitations, and truly understand what makes each product unique. Again, my name is Shauna, and we do have our two speakers today. So we have Dan Shore, who is our engineering and product manager, and then Jim McGinnis, and he is our systems design specialist. And if you guys would like to introduce yourself, we'll start with Dan.
Well, thanks, Shauna. It's great to be here. Thank you all for attending. As Shauna mentioned, I'm the engineering manager for TOA Electronics here in the United States, and happy to be here.
Okay, and Jim?
Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. And Jim McGinnis for our design team and also our product support phone calls, or as I usually say, guy on a phone. So, you know, if you need tech support, our group is here, I'm here, and I do your designs for you.
Okay, and so Dan, Jim, and myself, we will be having a discussion on a couple of things. So some of the things we're going to cover today are the newest IP-A1 products that TOA has to offer. We're also going to cover the common features, functionality that each IP-A1 functionality, those units share, along with what makes each different. We're also going to review the versatility of the series and why each is an ideal solution. And then we'll review the typical product designs where each can be implemented and understanding how this can all be done. And we do want everyone to leave here with a few key takeaways, that being how to articulate the facts, of our line of IP-A1 enabled solutions, and, when best used in the field, and insight on those protocols that make everything possible. So, again, if you do have any questions, we do want to leave those to the end of the webinar, but of course, feel free to submit them throughout, and we will respond during our Q&A segment. Now, as some of you might already be familiar with our IP-A1 SC15, which is better known as our IP-A1 speaker, you might not be aware of our latest editions of IP-A1 models. So, again, those are what we're going to be covering today. And we're going to direct our first question to Dan. If you could please give a background on our flagship model, which would be the IP-A1 speaker, and then the products that have now followed thereafter. And additionally, if you could give some insight on the features that make each, or that each model share, what then would also make those units unique. And Dan, if you can take it away.
Great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
I definitely can.
All right, very good. So this is the family as it stands right now. We have our IP horn speaker, of which we have some limited quantities here. They've shipped. We have our PC580 loudspeaker with the IP audio interface located on the back on a bracket, which fits into the UL listed backhand, which makes this a speaker suitable for plenum rated applications. We also have a PC580S square speaker, which will be for surface mount applications typically in classrooms. The speaker in this case is not quite the same as our PC580R. Those of you familiar with the PC580R know that it's a monocoque design where the speaker cannot be removed from the baffle. That's not the case with the IP square speaker, which gives us some additional ways that we can mount this speaker more creative ways behind baffles or different baffles or in custom boxes. But right now, this will be available with a square surface mount back box, and the PC580R will be available with a UL 2043 Plenum Airspace rated back can. Our regular PC580RU will still be available as a 70 volt or 25 volt ceiling speaker that is listed for life safety systems. This is not listed for life safety systems. We also have a loudspeaker that has our tension spring mount, which is the IP-A1 PC238. This is a speaker typically for a wall mount or a non-plenum installation in a hard deck. And there are those applications out there, so we wanted to make sure that we had that speaker as well. And then last but not least, we have the standalone IP audio interface unit, which is the IP-A1AF. And coming later on this year, we will have a IP-A1 PG, which is the paging gateway, which will allow us to use multicast streams to address large numbers of speakers. All of these speakers have the ability right now to handle up to 10 multicast streams at the same time. They all can be connected via peer-to-peer or through a SIP server or using back channel on OnVIF, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. And they also have pre-recorded message capability on board with contact closure input and contact closure output. There are remote control API commands for all of these speakers, and I will show you a little bit more detail on that in a bit. We have a large quantity of space available for up to 20 pre-recorded messages with a total of 80 megabytes, and that can be in MP3 or WAV format. As I mentioned, also contact closure and the ability to communicate through a video management system. So let's take a look at the horn for right now. And let me start the slideshow. So as you can see, there is the built-in amplifier on the horn, the message repeater, and the horn speaker itself. So we can get 8 watts of power over standard PoE or 15 watts of power at PoE+. It's extremely durable. It's IP66, and I believe some of our Canadian cousins are on the line here. They're the only folks that are likely to get that negative 30 degrees centigrade rating on there, but it will go down that low. If it goes lower, you may lose some output, but generally, I think this is going to be an all-environment loudspeaker. Again, we have multiple ways to produce audio from this horn and through the IP-A1 products. We have SIP, we have IP, just as fixed address, we have OnVIF, and we have multicast for paging. We can control the unit with HTTP commands, and we can play the sound source, a SIP call, or hit a control output using that command control input. So as an example, in the sound source broadcasting mode, we'll have an IP camera or image sensor connected to a control input, and then it will automatically broadcast, for example, an intruder alert. For the VMS broadcasting mode, you can connect to the camera or audio device and have a microphone connected to that camera to warn people away from that location. In SIP broadcasting mode, you can use this as an endpoint on our NSP80 SIP intercom systems. And if you have the N8000 IP intercom system, if you use the N8000 SG SIP gateway on the intercom, you can also broadcast directly to the horn. Streaming broadcasts, again, as I mentioned, up to 10 ports are available per device. And when the paging gateway gets here, there will be a very flexible, completely IP paging system. That piece will also include tone generator and clock function so that you can set tones to go off in any areas to any speakers at any time. We have some verified VMS and SIP servers here, and we're always looking to work with VMS vendors to help them make sure that our systems will work with them. If you have a particular VMS system that you're using and it's not listed here, please give us a call and we will arrange to work with that manufacturer's technical team to ensure that our product will be compatible with them. As far as SIP servers, Crestron, 3CX, Digium, Axon, open source. It's really a basic SIP device, and we have not had a situation yet where we're not able to connect. So we certainly suggest that you test it first, but be confident that we can work around almost any issue that's out there. For VMS software, again, we're able to use any of these paths to broadcast audio to the system. In addition, macro data is also available on the system. So it's a very complete implementation of IP and ONVIF solution. We're ONVIF S qualified, so we're looking to continually upgrade and improve that as time goes on. For those of you who are security conscious, which should be all of you, I believe the latest version of firmware uses HTTPS to communicate, and that should take care of your IT department's security concerns on that. The WAV files, as I mentioned earlier, approximately 30 megabytes is about 30 minutes monaural at 128, and at full bandwidth, got about 12 and a half. Since this is a paging horn, you're probably going to be using the 128K on this.
Okay, Dan, definitely a lot of information. So, again, we're able to go ahead and see, that overview of what there is to offer. And so we would like to go ahead and move over to Jim. So, a lot of things Dan might have touched base on, but however, if you might be able to go ahead and maybe reiterate some points on the versatility of the IP-enabled solutions, and then why this would be an ideal solution in a project design. And, again, even if Dan might have touched base on it, just to focus on why a series like this would be appealing.
Sure, thanks for that. So, I mean, as technology expands, everything is becoming IP based. So of course we have to go along with that. And this is the perfect timing to release, products that can get audio out to the field. I mean, that is what TOA does. We provide audio solutions with clarity and sound, distributed over many different application types. So having SIP is the next natural occurrence for us. And so now it makes us compatible with many of network solutions that are out there, as Dan had mentioned earlier, of the different connection points that we can use. And then as our speaker horn that we're starting with has 2 different power levels depending on what type of PoE switch that you're using. And so, getting 15 watts out of an IP horn is a great thing. It's not difficult to implement, and it's really dependent more so on the switch that you're connecting it to versus anything else. And you get 8 watts out of it just on any standard switch. So great solution across the board. We use it for a lot of different applications, a lot of point-to-point. So we do peer-to-peer a lot of times on our NSP80 system. So in some of the pictures there, it showed our master station. So it's very easy to set up point-to-point, and you can just so-called click and shoot, so to speak, with these particular horns. And then as we progress forward, Dan had mentioned up to 10 different streams. But when our PG unit comes, we're going to have that expandable. But to add to that, we've done integration with our N8000 equipment, which we've had for over a decade and a half now. Very stable, good intercom system. And the N8000 SG is what we call our gateway. And so that allows for 5 audio channels to connect to an existing SIP system. So now we can integrate into existing SIP systems or come back into our intercom. We can add our horns or speakers to those existing systems or create a new system. So it really depends on what the application is. So we've done a number of those systems so far, and a lot with the gateway for existing systems. So we kind of marry intercom, we kind of marry existing SIP, and then we add our own SIP products to that. We've done independent SIP systems in correctional facilities, et cetera. So now that we have a horn, this is a great opportunity now to be able to do paging out into the main areas of the correctional facility, or if it's in a school, it could be in a play area outside, or in a gym or what have you. So it makes it very easy to add that to a particular system. Dan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Do we have any questions from the audience? I don't see anything right now.
I do see one so far from Lewis, sorry, is just wanting to verify that HTTPS is supported.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep, current firmware.
All right. So definitely, Jim, that was a great response to the answer. And just going now, shooting over to Dan, and following up on that explanation, can you share how this series of products can be built into both new and existing applications? And, can that both be done with and without TOA products? So I think you did touch a little bit on that before, but if you can also elaborate on the advantages of using this series, that would be great, just to have our audience, get a focused response on that.
Sure. Let me share my screen again.
Mm-hmm.
And these can be used with any OnViv compatible system. It's very, very easily set up, especially the paging horn. If you've already got a network connection out to the camera, this can be added on very quickly, and all of a sudden you have the ability to announce messages to people, maybe do a little crowd control or answer questions at an entrance gate. All of these can be controlled remotely. Contact inputs give you a tremendous variety of ways to use the system to trigger the system. The VMS back channel gives you a great way to provide that. We are looking into compatibility with other systems such as single wire and some other proprietary protocols in order to make sure that we're as compatible with existing systems out there as we possibly can be. The control protocol for this system, let me get down here to this. Some of the things that we're able to do with this system are to provide priorities for what we'll call patterns in this. So, for example, you can have different priorities for any of the audio sources, plus you can have different input volumes to match those sources across the board. So, for example, if your SIP system is a little bit low in level, you can take it up here. Same with the paging, same with the OnViv. You can independently match those levels. In addition, you can also program in the number of times a message will play and the interval in between those with the ability to test. So you can see in an example here, we've got over 32 levels of priority on these units. So in this situation, we're using a TOA camera, but it can be any IP camera out there. We're using a Genetec video management system, and we're using Sapelia as the SIP server, and we're able to tie all of these together on those three platforms. So it's very, very effective at unifying all of your platforms together to get solid audio out to where you need it, when you need it. We also have an IP setting tool that really speeds up the implementation of the system. You're all familiar with plugging in a different IP address device and manually setting the IP address on that. That is not necessary with this system. It will scan for the devices, and you can automatically assign IP addresses very, very quickly. You can configure them. You can upload and download settings for each horn. and you can update firmware from this as well. This is available from the data center. The data center is the best place to get information on the IP-A1 series equipment, and it's reachable through our website. If you do that, you will have the latest version of firmware always at your fingertips and the latest instruction manuals at your fingertips as well. So here's an example of the page from our download library. You'll just type in IP-A1 and you'll be directed to the list of IP-A1 devices available. It gives you the current version of the setting tool, the current version of the firmware. It's very easy to do. If you want to download everything, you just click add, confirm, and everything will download in one zip file. So very, very easy and convenient to use. So the setup manual includes the IP setting tool instructions, just so you'll know where to find them. They are not a specific document. Shauna?
All right, Dan, definitely, again, a lot of information. You're able to show the versatility of the system, the series, how it integrates with other manufacturers and brands. So definitely something, again, that's just extremely easy to, connect and add to other systems. So definitely appreciated that response. Same thing, gentlemen, together, definitely great responses, and giving our attendees an overview of the latest system that we have to offer. So again, just kind of summarizing everything, we were able to touch base on the products that are recently added, those common features and functions, and then of course, those additional features that go beyond, each unit that makes each piece specific and unique. And then also now we just talk about the versatility of the series, and then, just some typical just product designs, and then how each can be implemented. We will go ahead and move on to the Q&A section. And I do see that we have a few questions here. So we will go ahead and start with Fareed's question. And there is a question on, are there any plans to support Dante? So if one of you gentlemen would like to take that answer.
Not with this system, no. This is SIP protocol for paging over IP. Dante is generally used more in a professional situation. We are a Dante partner, but it is not going to apply to this this set of equipment.
Not for this platform.
Okay, moving on to the next question. TCC, we have Parth, so hello. And that first question from Parth will be, will there be more than 10 multicast zones? And then to add on to that, it's a two-parter, is are there max speakers on each of those multicast zones?
So when we have the paging gateway, it will greatly increase the number of multicast zones, and the number of speakers on each multicast zone is virtually infinite as far as I can tell right now. Parth is one of the technical guys up at TOA Canada and has helped us out in the past. Parth, if you have any different information, now's the time to tell me.
Pass it on down.
This, once the paging gateway gets here, we should be set up for full service, very expandable network paging system. I'd also like to point out that there are demonstrations available on YouTube of all of the functionality of the IP-A1 horn using our N8000, using our NSP80, using contact closure, and using a video management system. They're very easy to find. Go to youtube.com and search for IP-A1 SC15, and it will be there.
All right. Moving on to our next question from Don. And his question is, will the IP-A1 work in WAN configuration for campus-wide solutions?
If you have a router, certainly. You can do them, configure it as a SIP system, and SIP phones will work over routers. You can also configure it as a peer-to-peer device, and as long as you know the router address in AT, you should be able to get that, make that functional. We have not done any testing on that here, but theoretically it is possible. SIP server, but routers, I'm seeing Luis. The router would be for peer-to-peer, and the SIP server would be for using SIP protocol.
Okay, definitely another detailed answer. Thank you, Dan. We do have another question. Is the PG still forecast for end of summer?
There are some delays, so I'm looking at fourth quarter on
that. Okay, so Francisco, so his question was sharing the link for the IP-A1 SC15 YouTube playlist. I did actually add it in the chat, but just look out for that. I'm going to share those again, and then you'll be able to click those links, and then you'll be able to go right on over, to those videos. Let's see. Lewis Ratter. Okay, so you responded to that, Dan, and that looks like that is all the questions that we have. So let me just go ahead and share the YouTube link. So if anyone else missed them a little bit earlier in the chat, those are coming through now. Just quick little overview of the IP-A1, so the horn speaker, and just how it works. Quick little highlights and features. Definitely something that's shareable, quick and easy to use. And that is everything. Definitely want to thank everyone for coming. Next month, we do have another webinar coming up, and that will be NFPA 72, which is for emergency communication systems. And then that would be in tandem with our VM3000 series. So definitely look out for that invite, be able to learn more on that. And again, thank you for everyone for coming, and we'll see you next time.